Hi, everyone. We would like to thank you for attending this session today. My name is Naeem, and I'm the Senior Digital Marketing Executive here at iQor. The topic of our webinar today will be the true cost of product waste. Before we get started today, I would like to discuss the format and etiquette for this webinar. It will be approximately a 45-minute session, and we will provide contact details at the end of the session if you have any questions. So sit back, listen, and enjoy. Now, I will turn our attention to the speaker for today. Dylan has worked in the organization for the past 6 years. He has a strong background in IT service delivery and has undertaken a number of digital transformation, IT organization streamlining, and modernization programs, delivering new technology and modern ways of working in various industry sectors. To back up his practical experience, he holds an MBA in computing, ITIL for managing professionals and strategic leader, lean IT leader, and many other IT management certifications. So I just wanted to give everyone an introduction of iQor. We have 25 years of experience in helping organizations embed modern, effective approaches to IT service management and service integration and management good practices. We also have extensive experience in developing modern IT service management approaches to help our clients' needs. As you can see, we have expertise within the actual service, within the subject matter, within the areas below as well. So now that you have understood a bit more about iQor, I will now be handing over to Dylan to get us underway today.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Naeem. Thank you very much for that introduction. And welcome, everybody. Welcome to this webinar, really, on process waste. We put down understanding the true cost of it. And we'll really see that when we see where it actually is. So in order to understand that, what we've done, we've broken this down into 3 key stages. And that is, what is process waste? And that is actually understanding, we can say from the theoretical side of what it is, and then identifying process waste, so really digging into how you would find this, because it can be very overwhelming to make that start. Then once you've found it, once you've got your sort of improvement initiatives and all the areas you can see that there's waste, what do you do then? So how do you go about eliminating it? And I put eliminating it, but as we all know that it's rare that you can eliminate it, but how you can reduce it, if nothing else. So as Naeem said, sit back, and I hope you enjoy. So first of all, one big question that that often you'd hear from many people in IT is, why should we worry about invisible waste? Because it's invisible, isn't it? We don't actually see sort of process waste. It's not like there's we've got an overproduction of products, or there's an oversupply of this, or we can actually see backlog. Can't see that. It's all hidden within the process. But I'm sure you'll understand these sort of stakeholder views. IT managers are concerned on anything that can lead into inefficiencies, delays, and increased costs. Of course, they want to be as efficient as possible. They want to get the most out of their team. They want to deliver the best things to their customers. From an IT operations staff sort of perspective, that makes their jobs more time-consuming and more difficult. I'm sure we've all thought it. Why are we doing that again? I don't understand why we're doing that. And generally we get the good old answer, well, that's the way we've always done it. Well, to me, as soon as I hear that it's not an alarm bell, it's a siren for opportunity and improving. IT business analysts on behalf of the business are also very keen on this, because anything that supports the business is going to be a benefit. Any way they can reduce costs to get better delivery, let's say. Imagine that, delivering better, faster delivery whilst reducing cost. That's almost a utopia, isn't it? But when you dig into process waste, you can actually see how that can happen. It's not about making the product more shiny. It's about the way that we deliver it. And that's what we're really going to be talking about. And of course, IT service management staff ourselves, we're on about delivering that nice product that the business wants, and also, probably above all, really, keeping them happy, keeping them satisfied, actually delivering the service that we want to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to move on into what is process waste. So from a lean IT, oh, sorry, let me just step back 1 minute. Throughout this presentation and this webinar, I'll be referencing to various different sort of frameworks and bodies of best practice, but not just in a theoretical way, also how that actually relates to real life. So there'll be ITIL 4 in here, there'll be a bit of COBIT, there'll be a bit of lean IT for those of you who understand the best practice, but I won't baffle you with best practice because there'll be a lot of practical application as well. So one of the first things, now going into the best practice part, from the lean perspective, is understanding what they call muda. A muda, in effect, is a Japanese word for waste. A little bit of background on this. Lean was developed for manufacturing organizations many years ago. I'm sure you've heard of the systems like the Toyota production system and such like that. And what it is to analyze what we're doing and to do the best of what we're doing and to continually improve. This is the whole sort of ethos of it. One of the key areas is understanding the 3 types of activities that we actually deliver. And that's what we're talking about here. One of them, value add, brilliant. Adds value in the eyes of the customer. The customer is willing to pay for this work. They're happy to pay for it. It's the product that they expect. It could be application development, server maintenance, whatever. They're happy because they know that that's going to deliver the product. Then we've got 2 other types of work, which are, dare I say it, less visible. One of them is necessary, non-value add. They're in the bottom right corner. So this is Muda type 1. What this is, these are activities that have to happen. They have to happen to make sure that the value adds happen. So as you can see there, recruiting, finance, accounting, fixing incidents, things that have to happen. I know some of you straight away are thinking, hang on a minute, fixing incidents, shouldn't that be a value add? Well, not really, because value add is delivering a product that hasn't got any defects in it. So there won't be any incidents from it. That is the value add. That's where we want to be. However, as we know, because of the constraints, we don't always get there. So we've got fixing incidents as part of Muda type 1. If something goes wrong, we need to fix it. It's necessary work that doesn't add direct value. And then we've got the more sinister Muda type 2, unnecessary, so unnecessary non-value add work. This does not add value for anybody, for the customer or the business or whatever. This is work that is redundant. This is coming back to that statement that we said, well, it's the way that we've always done it. Well, maybe that's the way that we did it in the olden days, but it's not quite mapping the tools, the way of working, and the expectations of the business now. So these are tasks that should be eliminated immediately. So it's always good to think about when you're looking at tasks, to think, right, what type of activity are they? Are they value add? Are they necessary non-value add? Or are they unnecessary non-value add to Muda type 2? And if we can, we'll try to remove as much of the Muda type 2 in the first instance as possible. Another part, coming on to the lean element, and this is another element of thinking about our waste here. So when we go on to the next element of identifying process waste, we'll be using all these principles and we'll be using Muda and all these elements within that. But So what do we need to think about with the lean principles? Well, the lean principles, as you can see on the screen, are the 5. So we've got understand customer value. This principle emphasizes the importance of understanding what the customer values and delivering only what is necessary to meet those needs. So again, that's value add and Muda type 1. By focusing on the customer value, IT organizations can eliminate waste by reducing unnecessary work in delivering features that are not needed. Again, we're getting rid of that unnecessary work. We're making it more streamlined, as you like. And you'll see examples of these a bit later in this webinar. You've got identify and map the value stream, make it visible. What does this look like? Value stream is something that, or value streams is a topic that a lot of people are talking about at the moment, especially with the release of ITIL 4. The concept of value streams has gone well before ITIL 4, well before ITIL 3. And well, to be honest, it's gone well before ITIL in the truth aspect. The value stream is understanding different steps that have to happen in order to create value. And you can liken this to a vehicle processing plant. There's certain activities that have to happen before that car is ready and they're in a certain line. So this is what we're doing. We're going to map that value stream, bring it back to process. What is value and how do we get to it? Create flow. It's a great one. This principle focuses on creating a continuous flow of work through a process with minimal interruptions or delays. So by optimizing the workflow, IT organizations can reduce waste and improve efficiency, leading to faster delivery and improved customer satisfaction. And how do we do this? Well, it's achieved by adopting that almost that lean flow approach as we go through, minimizing handoffs, waiting time, and using automation technology where we can. So what we're trying to achieve here is a reduction of bottlenecks, a reduction of work in progress, all that great stuff, which really leads us on to the established pull. This involves establishing a pull-based system where work is actually pulled through the process only when there is the capacity to handle it. By establishing pull, IT organizations can reduce waste and improve efficiency by eliminating overproduction and excess sort of inventory. And by saying excess inventory, that is excess burden really within IT. Let's all think about this. So if you've got a set of activities to do and your desk is getting fuller and fuller and fuller of loads more activities, you feel more burdened. You can't concentrate as much as you should do on the activities because everything's taking a bit of your time, and thus your delivery output is minimized. Same sort of idea here. Give you one activity to think at a time and to move on. If there's a backlog, there's something gone wrong. So that's what we're looking at within pull. Again, this will all make a lot more sense when we jump into identifying process waste. Then finally, seek perfection. This principle in itself, it evolves continuously striving for perfection. So really, in old money, we're talking about continual improvement here. The key thing is we seek perfection. We never actually find perfection, because as good as your processes and services might be, they're only, or as aligned as they might be, they're only really aligned perfectly, dare I say it, for that moment in time. Because what happens tomorrow? Services change, the environment changes, the business wants something else. So if we say, yeah, we're good, we're providing great value to the business, we don't need to improve, really, that's the first point of slipping back. So now we've got a good idea of what Muda is. So the 3 types where we have, just as a quick recap on that, you've got value add, you've got necessary value add and non-necessary value add. We've also now got the sort of principles we need to think about. Okay, but we still don't know what waste is. We've got almost the background foundation of understanding how to get rid of it, but what is it? What actually is waste? So there is a mnemonic, Tim Woods, that's used, and it's really a tool in lean manufacturing to identify and eliminate the 8 common sources of waste in a process. And the acronym stands for transport, inventory, motion, waiting, overproduction, overprocessing, defects, and skills. Right, you might have thought, hang on a minute, but we're not in manufacturing. Well, you're right. So these sources of waste can also be applied in IT processes. And let's have a think about these and think about your organization when we talk about these and think about where these might sit. So here's how each of the Tim Woods can be applied. Transport. Oh, transport. This refers to the unnecessary movement of people, equipment, or information. So if people are moving around a fair bit, why is that? In IT processes, transport waste can occur in informational data, or if informational data is moved between different systems, departments, resulting in delays and potential errors. So if it is going from one tool to another tool and such like, there is more chance of an error there. So we try to reduce that as much as possible. By reducing transport waste in IT processes, well, the IT processes can be improved through streamlining workflows, automating where possible. So we really try to streamline on that. We've got inventory. This refers to any unnecessary inventory work in progress that is not being used or is not necessary for the process. Things that we're doing that we don't need to do, in effect. In IT processes, inventory waste can occur when there's a backlog of work that is not being processed, or when there's a large amount of data that's not being used. We're just creating this. Think about the amount of reports that we create just because we always used to. But why? Does anyone even read them? Reducing inventory waste in IT processes can be achieved by prioritizing work, improving communication between teams, and ensuring that only the necessary data is collected and stored. So the great thing on that is thinking, what do we want to do with that data? What are we going to do with that data? And if it's not a legal requirement and we're not going to do anything with it, why are we even collecting it? It's honest questions we have to ask ourselves. We've got motion. This refers to unnecessary motion, people and equipment. In IT process, motion waste can occur when staff need to physically move between locations or where equipment is not located at the optimal location. We've got waiting. In IT processes, waiting can occur when there's a delay in the processing of work, such as an instant or change request, or when there's a delay in receiving approval from stakeholders. So, and in my experience, there has been a lot of waste within processes within this point of the waiting time. There's a fair bit, don't get me wrong, in inventory with work in progress, but waiting always seems to be the biggest quick win when it comes to looking at process. Overproduction and over processing. So yeah, so overproduction is waste can occur when data or reports are produced that are not needed, or even requested by stakeholders. And think how much time we spend on reporting in IT constantly, even though now really managers can just pull this information from whatever systems you have anyway. But this is one of the things we need to look at. Over processing. Waste can occur when data is collected a process that's not necessary for the process. So we got there. A good one, defects. In IT process, defects waste can occur when the errors in the data or when work needs to be reprocessed due to errors or omissions. Jumping back into lean here, they've got a fantastic tool called the Andan cord. And the Andan cord is basically, if you see an issue in what work you're doing, stop working with it. Send it back to be fixed at that point. Don't just continue, because my process says that's what I have to do, because you'll send it on and that will go on, they'll go further upstream, and suddenly it will go all the way back down to the beginning again, and you'd have all this waste. So, and then skills, talent, of course. We've got two sides of skills waste here. We've got first side, when people are overskilled and doing a job that that really utilizes their knowledge and their capacity. And you've also got the other side where you've got people that are underskilled trying to do jobs that really they're not capable of. And the results of that, again, is a load of rework, defects, and such like there. So now we've got the majority of the theory done with now, which I'm sure you'll be happy to know. What I am going to do, though, is I'm now going to have a look into the case study. So throughout this, the rest of this sort of session, we're going to talk about incident management. And so the input for what we're doing is this case study. An audit report is stated the following. The incident management process is experiencing inefficiencies and waste, which is leading to delays, increased costs, and decreased customer satisfaction. I'm sure that's something a fair few of you have heard of in the past. There's a lack of clarity around the process steps and responsibilities, resulting in duplication of effort, delays in resolution, and an increased frustration for both IT staff and end users. Clearly, the current process is not optimized to deliver value to the organization, and there's a need to identify and improve the efficiency and effectiveness of the incident management process. So we chose incident management because it's a simple process that every, majority of managers have had their hand on at some point. But it's a very good process really to dig in and understand what the issues could be. So this next stage, we're going to have a look at how to identify process waste using the types of waste that we discussed, using the lean principles, and understanding the three types of activity: value add, non-value, necessary non-value add, and unnecessary non-value add. So the first tool in your toolkit to do this is something that I use on every single engagement that I go into, regardless, because it helps build a good picture of where you are and baselining where you are. And that is doing a process map. So also known as a SIPOC diagram. Some of you might have heard of this one before, but a SIPOC, which is supplier inputs, process outputs, customers. So how this works is the first thing that we do is we look at the process. So we start in the middle on this, and we define the steps that are within a process. And we know what the process is. Let's say, for instance, management, we've got identify, log, categorize, prioritize, and such like initial investigation, diagnosis, blah. Once we've done that, we draw those down the line, and then we look at each one of those steps. So, for example, inputs. What are the inputs into identification? Okay, you define what they are. For each of those inputs, who does that input come from, or what does it come from? Is it from a customer giving a call? Is it from a event management tool, publishing or communicating an alert? What is it? And then we go on to the other side. What are the outputs that we want to achieve from this step? And who do these outputs go to? And here we start stringing out and understanding a little bit more about that process itself. And when we can see about what it is that we are looking for. So I can give you an example here based on our case. So based on incident management, I've done my SIPOC. So I've got my supplier input, process, output, and customer. The first thing I want to do is have a look at the process itself. So I have a look at identify, logging, categorization, prioritization, and such like, all the way to the closure. So we know that. That's pretty standard a la carte ITIL. don't worry if you don't recognize things here that are in your organization. It's not saying you're doing it wrong. It's just saying it's probably aligned more to what you need. But who knows? So once we've done identify, once we've done the process, we're then going to have a look horizontally across. So here's an example. For identify, we've got an alert that's been generated by a monitoring tool. In this case, we're looking more of as the event management kind of element here. So the output of this will be a script, and the script will be sent to the IT staff or whichever tool is going to fix the incident. Okay, even though we mentioned, and this does look very event process-esque, that doesn't mean that it's not also an incident. In this case, it is. And in the example that we had that we're looking at. Then we have a look at all the other elements here. So logging a ticket, end user, user information, open ticket, and such like, as we go all the way through. You might see here, especially with categorization and prioritization. Well, categorization has got no inputs, outputs, customers, suppliers at this point. That might not be true for your organization. Maybe you've got very fluid categorization tables and in a very agile environment. And then you might need to get an input of something from someone. But this is where you do that process sort of map within your organization. Hence why I would do this in every organization, because every organization is different and have different things. Remember, all this best practice is meant to fit your organization. Your organization is not to fit best practice. That really doesn't work. Otherwise, you might as well just call your organization ITIL. So we've got the SIPOC. We've got all this information. Brilliant. Now what? This doesn't tell me where my waste is. It just tells me what needs to be done. So the next step is we're going into some value stream mapping. So we're looking at value stream mapping in the older sense of the term here. Yeah, so we're looking at it in the older sense of the term. So what I mean by that is we're not looking at in the different ways that ITIL use it today. We're looking at the way that it is meant to be of mapping out a series of steps and understanding those steps, understanding what value we're getting from those steps. So let me just quickly walk through this for you. My pointer. So here we have the process name, in this case, incident management. You might have inputs to the process, outputs to the process, and maybe some process information here. Again, you'll see this on our example on the next slide. Underneath this is broken down into a series of steps. And under these, there are a series of data captures, really. These white boxes are what we call standard time. And standard time is what time is the standard time that it should take in order to do an activity. So step one, let's say that was logging. How long should it take to do step one? Step two, identification. How long should that take? And so on. How long should that take? It's great. So we're happy with that. That's standard time. We add these all together in order to do the process standard time. Using this process 100% effectively would give us this amount of time. However, we live in the real world, so we know that that is not going to happen. So we're now having a look at the value added times. So how long does it actually take to do the step? And where you might get this information, and it's another term that they use in Lean, it's called the Gemba walk. And that's about getting down on the shop floor, so to speak, getting down to go and see the people who are using incident management, going to the service desk. And Gemba is go see. So go see and go see, ask. What that means is you go to the service desk and you actually was there. So how long does it take you to do this? How long does it take? And observe them and find out and get a rough sort of times for these. There's another thing we've got here is wait time. So once step one's completed, in order to get to step two, what actually is the wait time? And we'd love to say, oh, well, it goes straight on, but it does it? This is the question that we've got to ask. So once we've done this, we'll have a good idea of the health of our process, really. So let's have a look at this in an example, which will probably make a lot more sense. And again, bringing back to our instant management. So first thing we've got is we've got our process, instant process that we're going to talk about. A little bit of information around it. I won't go through it thoroughly, but customers. So we've got 20% automated tools, 80% users, units of work. Don't worry about that for the minute. And then alert to a completion of initial diagnosis. So that's what we want to achieve within this stream. So within the stream, because instant is a large process, we've broken it down into sections. So we're only going to look at the first real half of the process. So we've mapped the process out. And here we've got identify, logging, prioritization, categorization, and initial diagnosis. We get our measuring sort of tools in place. So we draw those out. And now we're going to have a look and defining how much time it takes. So identify should take, well, hardly any time at all if it's automated. Logging 5 minutes, prioritization 10 minutes, categorization 5 minutes, initial diagnosis 240 minutes, which is what, 4 hours or something like that. So that's where, or around about 4 hours. So that's round about where we're at there. Well, again, that's the utopian world, isn't it? So that 260 there is the same as this 260 here. Sounds like a long time, but the majority of it here is in our initial diagnosis. And that is how long it will take in general. And this is just generalizing them. So now let's have a look at how long it actually takes. So this is after viewing this. Okay, that looks pretty cool. 0. Hang on a minute. We've got a 2-hour wait between identify and logging. That's interesting. There's a gap here between 10 minutes. It should take to prioritize. Why is it actually taking 75? Categorization and so on. So we start looking at these numbers and we find out that actually it should take 260 minutes, but it's actually taking 2,667 minutes. Oh, wow. That's like, that doesn't make any sense. See, where this is hidden is the deliverable still the same. It's just taking so long to do it. And that is, over 10 times the amount, which is ridiculous. So we then start looking at our value stream and working out areas of improvement. So we've got loads of different symbols we could use, and the symbols are totally up to you, whichever ones you want to use. But you can say, right, we've got a time issue here because we've got 260 versus 2667. So we need to dig into this. We've got an issue here. Why is it taking 120 minutes? Why is this taking 480 minutes between prioritization and categorization? How could that be? Maybe there's an issue with a tool set. Maybe there's an issue with working with suppliers for this. It's hard to tell until you dig into those areas. And of course, it basically stops here between categorization, initial diagnosis. Why is that? Is it then this is where we go to having a look at the looking at the lean principles and also understanding the mood is what are these elements that we need to look into. Right. Now we've got an idea now of our value stream. We've understood what our process is. Sorry. We've understood what our process is. We've actually opened our process up. We've had a look at how long it should take, and this is just looking at time. And then we've also had a look at how long it actually is taking, married those up. Well, with those two things, what that does actually give us is something called the process cycle efficiency. And this is it's a scary one, to be honest. This gives us a very good line in the sand of what our health is of that process. So just as an example here, really watered down the value stream map there, but we've got the same sort of elements where we've got our waste and our value, which we add up. So in this case, we've got 2 days of value added time divided by 11 days of the total lead time. It should be times 100, gives us 18% process cycle efficiency. Clearly, with this, the closer to 100%, the better your process is going. But in all truth, in order to get there, you need to do a lot of automation and a lot of streamlining. But now let's have a look what that looks like with our last slide. So if we go into where we were with this as our results, so we've got the 260 and 2667. Let's have a look what it would be. So 260, 267 divided by each other times 100 is 9.7. So we're saying at this point, this part of incident management it's only got a 9.7% efficiency cycle, or cycle efficiency. Lots of room for improvement. So this is a really good way as well of assessing your processes, finding out which ones are more efficient than others, and actually from there, building up a prioritization list of which ones you want to go into bat for. There are loads of ways we can use this sort of data. And clearly, this is a baseline for us actually to start improving on. Okay, what's the difference really with this and CMMI? So CMMI obviously is a maturity method, a maturity and capability method, which is great. It's just saying how mature your process is. This isn't looking at maturity. I mean, CMMI is great for maturity. This is looking at efficiency. You can have a very mature process that is just not very efficient at all due to a lot of waste in it. Because remember, the waste is hidden. This is how we find that. So what we've done so far, we've understood what waste is. We've then gone into our, we got a problem. So we've got the case study, problem statement there. We've gone into our incident management process. We've analyzed what should happen in our incident management process. We've now actually gone and observed that process. First of all, putting the baseline, the standard time down of ideally in a utopian world, how long it should take. And then we've actually analyzed exactly how long it does take. This has given us a process cycle efficiency number. And now we need to not just store this report away, because if that is the case of why you're doing this report, again, let's look at the waste. What's the point of doing it? The point of doing this is to eliminate the process waste. Now, this topic in itself, we could talk for days and weeks on, because there's so many different tools and techniques and ways that you would actually remove this waste, all the way from actually for decommissioning equipment to organizational change and all these fine parts. However, because we haven't got that time, what we're going to do is have a look at the high level view of this. So coming on to some tools that you probably used already, I expect that you have. We're going to mention these into the good old best practice ways again. So first of all, the ITIL 4 principles. I'm sure you're going to recognize this first one straight off. Focus on value. By focusing on value, or by focusing on delivering value to customers, organizations can ensure that their IT processes are aligned with the business needs and are optimized to delivering the most value with the least waste. Starting where you are, assessing where you are, be honest with yourselves. Don't stick your head in the sand. Understand areas of waste and inefficiency. It's all about creating a blameless environment and actually moving forward here. Progress iteratively with feedback. A big part here, and we're going to mention this later on in a couple of slides' time, is bite-sized chunks, small. Don't look at solving big issues straight away. Break those big issues down into smaller issues and solve those bite-sized chunks. But the key thing is to embed this and continually improve, continually looking at. If you're a process manager, continually looking at your process to improve this, to realign, to streamline, and to utmost, in the case of what we're talking about here, reduce that waste, which makes your process more efficient. Collaborate and promote visibly. Again, this is not any ivory tower stuff. This is working with the teams. This is not working out the whole new process. So this is the way it should be and trying to force that down to people. That won't work. We know that won't work. This is working with the teams that are going to do it, showing them, getting the buy-in and pushing it with that. Think beyond just your process. So think and work holistically. Look at other areas where your process might be connected to where you can help. Other areas where waste might be. If you've learned a valuable lesson, you share that lesson. Keep it simple as practical as possible. Again, small bite-sized chunks. The worst thing we can do here is overwhelm. Overwhelm breeds procrastination. Procrastination, well, nothing gets done, does it? Let's be honest. And ideally, the best thing we can do, and we're in the age of doing this, guys and ladies, sorry, optimize and automate. We've got optimization. We clean your processes up, get them done, then automate them where possible. With the sort of maturity of AI in the market and the modern service management sort of new applications, new ways of working, it really is a different world to where we were 5 years ago. And in 5 years ago is a totally different world to where we were 10 years ago. And we're continually improving at this rate. It's important that you stay with us on that. The next element we're going to look at here is continual improvement. So continual improvement, again, I'm sure you're all aware of this from ITIL, but it's a set of steps that's going to help us identify and address areas of waste and inefficiency in effect. So this is how we can actually have a look at it. And we can have a look at this within each of those target areas that we looked at. What's the vision? So what do we want to achieve with this improvement? Where are we now? Of course, documenting the baseline of where we currently are. Where do we want to be? So we know where we are. We want bite-sized chunks. How do we know when we've got there? So define measurable targets. How do we get there? So that's the planning. And don't get me wrong, we're not after war and peace here. We're just after a simple plan. They're great tools you can use here, like the A3 method, for example. And the A3 method states, and it's called A3 method because you use an A3 sheet of paper and you break that up using the DMAIC approach into different boxes, and you only put enough information that will fill in those boxes. So you don't get stuck just building a load of stuff. But improvement plans, loads of different sort of elements here that can help you. The key thing, there's no point doing any of this unless we do something about it. So make sure you have that buy-in. Make sure you've got the managerial and leadership sponsorship that help push us through. And then finally looking at, did we get there? Did we actually achieve it? What did we learn? What's next? That's the whole question there. And then finally, there's something else I just want to really, it's almost like a lean sandwich this. I want to talk about Lean Kaizen. Lean Kaizen is a fantastic tool that we can use. And Kaizen, as it shows there, it means change good. It's all about continually changing and having small bite-sized improvements, but continually. Really, a Kaizen should take no longer than 5 days. And a Kaizen, you can liken to a mini project. It gets the right stakeholders in place, and that is, says there, involves everyone every day and everywhere. We get everyone involved in this Kaizen. We get everyone to start breathing and really feeling this. And it gives us a good structure into that sort of improvement element there. And it's not something different, i.e. we're doing a project and we're doing a project and we're not working. No, this is actually, when you're working, you're starting to think about this improvement as well. So it's a really good way of looking at it. So that's Kaizen. And to be honest, that almost brings us, there's been a whirlwind of information here, I know. But this almost brings us to understanding the cost of process waste. And there we've seen it in that example of, even though it's a percentage, 19.3%. Well, if you're to dig that further down and do total cost of ownership of all the different applications that you're only giving 9.3% value to, you can understand that there's a lot of cost in hidden waste. So the big conclusions here, really. First thing is, understand your process. If you're going to start having a look at process waste, understand your process, really understand what it should do, not just what it does or ideally what it should do, as it says in ITIL. This is not where you need an ITIL book dump. This is understanding from your business objectives what your process should do. Understand what value your process should be delivering and the style that it should be delivering there. Analyze your process for non-value add activities, MUDA. Reduce MUDA if you can, or reduce MUDA 2 if you can, eliminate MUDA 2 if you can, and reduce MUDA 1. So then put your plans into action, and the key thing there is continually assess and improve. And there is a lot, but I do believe that just have a think about the stuff we've talked about. Have a look at some of your processes. Just start having a look at this stuff, because I'm sure that you will find some value. You will look into it and you'll go, hang on a minute, why are we doing it that way? How can we look into it further? But of course, if you'd like to know more, or just how you get started, just let us know. We've got quite a few very experienced consultants, myself included here, that they'll be more than happy to help you along your way to actually do that ultimate goal of deliver better service at a lower cost. And with that, and this is the only sales slide you're going to get today. So if you're struggling with anything around your top end delivery chain, to be honest, from initial design, roadmap, slide tools or supply tool selection, through to additional support to run your BOA capabilities, we can help. We have a set of products that we can use to help us to kickstart, shall we say, us into your organization, and to really maximize on time to get you to these elements. We fully understand that not all organizations are the same, and by saying that, we do work in a strong approach there. So our key areas that we do like looking at the moment, looking at future service models, modern service management, how to maximize AI and all that great sort of stuff. Actually understand your service capabilities, how to improve those, and of course, support you along the way. So with that, we're coming up to the end of this session here. What I would like to say is, well, firstly, I'd like to thank you all for attending. Please, if you have any questions, if you've got any issues, or you'd like to know more about an area, please get in contact, and we're more than happy. And that's not just a sales pitch. From my personal point of view, I'm pretty sort of passionate about doing more with less, and helping organizations. So if you need a chat, just let us know. And here's some just where to contact us. So emails, info@icorelimited.com, our phone number, website, and which I'm sure the majority of you have come here from our LinkedIn sort of profile. If you haven't, the information's there. Well, thank you very much for your time.